The Big Bang Theory is filled with unforgettable moments, but one thing that always stands out is how different Sheldon Cooper is from everyone around him. One night, Sheldon and Leonard were trying to sleep, but even bedtime turned into a debate about comic book characters. What started as a simple conversation about Catwoman quickly became a detailed ranking of every version of the character. Then the discussion moved to the X-Men. While Leonard desperately wanted to sleep, Sheldon continued listing his favorite superheroes one by one. The next day at the university, Sheldon was feeling proud after giving a successful lecture. Most people admired his intelligence, but his confidence often came across as arrogance. When a fellow scientist named Ramona Nowitzki approached him and praised his work, Sheldon immediately accepted the compliment as if it were an established scientific fact. Ramona was fascinated by Sheldon's research and quickly became obsessed with helping him, brought him food, organized his schedule, and encouraged him to focus entirely on science. While Sheldon saw free food and assistance, his friends immediately realized that Ramona had developed feelings for him. Unfortunately, Sheldon remained completely unaware. To him, Ramona was simply a helpful person who appreciated his genius. Meanwhile, another challenge appeared in the apartment when Penny accidentally touched one of the onion rings on Sheldon's plate. For most people, this would have been a meaningless event. For Sheldon, it was a serious violation of personal boundaries. He immediately informed Penny that she had received her second strike. Confused, Penny asked what her first strike had been. Sheldon reminded her that months earlier she had sent him a chain email joke. The situation escalated when Sheldon explained his three-strike system. According to his rules, one more violation would result in Penny being removed from the group. Hearing. When she finally sat in Sheldon's spot on the couch, Sheldon declared, "Strike 3. Penny laughed at the absurdity of the situation, but Sheldon was completely serious. Moments like these showed why Sheldon was both incredibly frustrating and incredibly funny. Another classic rivalry developed between Sheldon and Penny when Penny decided to interfere with Sheldon's strict weekly schedule. Every Saturday night, at exactly 8:15, Sheldon did his laundry. Penny noticed this routine and deliberately occupied all the washing machines before Sheldon arrived. For Sheldon, this was chaos. He insisted that laundry night had always been Saturday night and always would be. Penny enjoyed watching him struggle, while Sheldon treated the situation as if the laws of nature had been violated. Elsewhere, Howard Wolowitz continued his never-ending quest to impress women. Unfortunately, Howard's confidence rarely matched reality. His attempts to flirt often crossed the line from charming to awkward. While Howard imagined himself as a smooth ladies' man, everyone around him saw something completely different. Eventually, Penny confronted him directly. She explained that his comments weren't flattering, they were creepy. She told him that women weren't secretly impressed by his behavior. For the first time, Howard genuinely realized how others saw him. The conversation hurt his feelings, but it also became an important moment in his personal growth. At the same time, Leonard was enjoying a new relationship with Dr. Stephanie Barnett. Unlike many of Leonard's previous relationships, this one seemed to be progressing quickly. However, Sheldon soon discovered that Stephanie had spent multiple nights in their apartment. That activated one of the most ridiculous clauses in the roommate agreement. According to Sheldon, Stephanie was now officially living with Leonard. As a result, Sheldon prepared a long list of new household rules. Refrigerator shelves needed to be reassigned. Cleaning schedules had to be updated. Bathroom usage required review. Leonard couldn't believe Sheldon was taking the situation so seriously. But Sheldon had written these rules years earlier, and now he expected everyone to follow them. Even Stephanie was required to sign multiple pages of documentation. For Sheldon, paperwork solved everything. Another unforgettable debate occurred when the group discussed Superman. What started as a simple question about how Superman cleaned his costume quickly evolved into a complicated scientific argument. The friends debated Kryptonian sweat, Kryptonian laundry services, and even the possibility of Kryptonian mustard stains. The discussion became increasingly ridiculous, yet everyone participated as though the topic were a matter of global importance. This was one of the show's greatest strengths. Ordinary conversations could transform into epic debates about comic books, science fiction, and imaginary worlds. Perhaps the most touching storyline involved Leonard and Penny. Their relationship was often complicated. Leonard admired Penny from the moment they met, but he constantly struggled with self-confidence. Penny, on the other hand, often underestimated how much Leonard had to offer. Despite their differences, they continued finding their way back to each other. Through every awkward conversation, every misunderstanding, and every challenge, their friendship remained strong. At its heart, The Big Bang Theory wasn't really about physics. It wasn't about comic books or video games. It was about friendship. It was about a group of people who were different from one another, but still cared deeply about each other. Whether they were arguing about superheroes, enforcing ridiculous apartment rules, or helping one another through difficult moments, they always remained connected. And that's exactly why fans around the world continue to love The Big Bang Theory. The characters weren't perfect. They made mistakes. They embarrassed themselves. They argued constantly. But they also supported one another when it mattered most. And in the end, those friendships became the most important discovery any of them ever made. As the years went by, the group continued to face new challenges, but somehow they always found a way to turn ordinary situations into unforgettable adventures. One of the most interesting things about Sheldon Cooper was his complete inability to understand sarcasm. While most people could easily recognize a joke, Sheldon often needed someone to hold up a sign that literally said sarcasm. This created endless opportunities for laughter. Whenever Penny made a sarcastic comment, Sheldon would stop the conversation and try to analyze it scientifically. Instead of laughing, he would search for logic, often making the joke even funnier than it originally was. Leonard spent years trying to teach Sheldon basic social skills, but the results were usually disappointing. Still, despite all of Sheldon's quirks, Leonard remained his closest friend. Whether it was arguments over roommate agreements, thermostat settings, or television schedules, the two found reasons to disagree almost every day. Yet whenever one of them needed help, the other was always there. Meanwhile, Howard and Raj formed one of television's funniest friendships. The two spent countless hours playing video games, discussing science fiction, and supporting each other through their many romantic disasters. Raj often worried that he would never find true love. While his friends moved forward with relationships and marriages, Raj struggled with confidence and self-doubt. But despite his challenges, he never stopped hoping. Howard's journey was equally surprising. At the beginning of the series, he was immature, overconfident, and often impossible to take seriously. However, meeting Bernadette changed everything.
For the first time, Howard met someone who genuinely cared about him while also refusing to tolerate his nonsense. Bernadette challenged him to become a better person. Slowly but surely, Howard transformed from a man-child into a responsible husband and father. His growth became one of the most satisfying storylines in the entire series. Then there was Amy Farrah Fowler. When Amy first appeared, many people thought she was simply a female version of Sheldon. But over time, Amy developed into one of the most important characters on the show. She understood Sheldon better than anyone else. More importantly, she wasn't afraid to challenge him. Whenever Sheldon became too stubborn or self-centered, Amy forced him to see things from another perspective. Their relationship moved slowly, but every small step felt meaningful. A simple handhold became a major event. A date became a milestone. A kiss became a victory. Fans loved watching Sheldon gradually open his heart. For someone who spent years avoiding emotional connections, falling in love was perhaps the greatest challenge he ever faced. Another thing that made The Big Bang Theory special was its celebration of intelligence. The characters weren't superheroes. They weren't athletes. They weren't action stars. They were scientists, engineers, and researchers. For many viewers, it was refreshing to see intelligent people portrayed as the heroes of the story. The show proved that being passionate about science wasn't something to hide. It was something to celebrate. The characters proudly discussed physics, astronomy, engineering, and mathematics. Even when viewers didn't fully understand the science, they appreciated the enthusiasm behind it. Throughout the series, friendships continued to evolve.